The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. Jesus told his disciples this parable. A man going on a journey called in his servants and entrusted his possessions to them. To one he gave 5 talents, to another 2, to a third 1, to each according to his ability. Then he went away. Immediately the one who had received 5 talents went and traded with them and made another 5. Likewise, the one who had received 2 made another 2. But the man who received 1 went off and dug a hole in the ground and buried his master's money. After a long time, the master of those servants came back and settled accounts with them. The one who had received 5 talents came forward bringing the additional 5. He said, "Master, you gave me 5 talents. See, I have made 5 more." His master said to him, "Well done, my good and faithful servant. Since you were faithful in small matters, I will give you great responsibilities. Come, share in your master's joy." Then the one who had received 2 talents also came forward and said, "Master, you gave me 2 talents. See, I have made 2 more." His master said to him, "Well done, my good and faithful servant. Since you were faithful in small matters, I will give you great responsibilities. Come, share in your master's joy." Then the one who had received the 1 talent came forward and said, "Master, I knew you were a demanding person, harvesting where you did not plant, and gathering where you did not scatter. So out of fear I went off and buried your talent in the ground. Here it is back." His master said to him in reply, "You wicked, lazy servant. So you knew that I harvest where I did not plant and gather where I did not scatter. Should you not then have put my money in the bank, so that I could have got it back with interest on my return? Now then, take the talent from him and give it to the one with 10. For to everyone who has, more will be given, and he will grow rich. But from the one who has not, even what he has will be taken away. And throw this useless servant into the darkness outside, where there will be wailing and grinding of teeth." The Gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, praise be Jesus and Mary. Dear brethren, we've heard this parable many times, and as soon as we hear it, it's easy to think of talents in the literal sense. So, just those sort of natural gifts that God has given us. And therefore, that this parable will be about using well our talents. Well, that's a very common interpretation, and it can be a good interpretation, but it's not the most complete interpretation. Talents here are to be understood not only as those natural abilities that God has given us, but they're to be understood as every gift that God has given us. And therefore, the correspondence here is the correspondence to every gift that He has given us. He's given us life. He maintains us in existence. And then there are all the actual graces that He has given us in order that we recognize His love, come to know the truth, and give a response to that. So on our part, we need firstly to be attentive to the gifts that God gives us, and seeing His goodness and His fatherly love toward us, desire to firstly be grateful, Great gratitude is a necessary disposition here, because without gratitude we're not going to appreciate the gifts, and we're certainly not going to want to put them to fruit. But gratitude, I don't deserve this, but God in His mercy has entrusted this to me. So I want to give Him some kind of response, reply, correspondence. I want to put to fruit that which He has given me. And so it brings us to this desire to correspond, to put to fruit that which He has given us. And the first putting to fruit is that of seeking His glory, to use everything He has given us, our very lives, and in every gift, on a material level, spiritual level, our abilities, everything for His glory. That's the very first way we put things to fruit. Use them for His glory. Whereas if we use them for our own glory, we literally go and bury them in the ground, as the third servant did here. What did he do? He was slothful, so just the spiritual laziness, just not being concerned about putting things to fruit, but using things for himself. So a disordered fear, in fact it says here that out of fear he went and buried his master's talent. But then the master says to him, "You wicked and lazy servant." That spiritual laziness is called sloth, which just means just being lukewarm, not engaged in any way, just spiritually dead, spiritually lazy, negligent. So we need to be diligent here. What's opposed to this negligence? Diligence. Diligence which has an underlying gratitude and sincere desire to correspond to God's love. So as I said, the first thing we need to do to put everything that God has given us to fruit is that of seeking His glory. Use things for His glory, to honor Him. And then use things to love Him. So everything that He's given us, we need to use in order to exchange His love. Seek to give Him this exchange of love. And part of that obviously is loving Him in our neighbor. We heard of that in the first reading. St. Paul to the Thessalonians says, "Brothers and sisters, on the subject of fraternal charity, you have no need for anyone to write to you, for you yourselves have been taught by God to love one another." So, that many of the gifts that we have received regard, you could say they're being given to us so that we can love God in our neighbor by using certain abilities and talents that we have for the good of our neighbor. But ultimately, that's got to be directed to God, to His honor, and to the love that is due to Him. In all this, let us look at our Blessed Mother. We celebrate her today with a votive Mass in honor of her title as Seat of Wisdom. St. Luke tells us that Our Lady preserved all these things, pondering them in her heart. Well, to just ponder things is one thing, but to actually ponder on them in order that I might know how to correspond better and put to fruit, well, it's something additional. So Our Lady pondered because she had this ardent desire to correspond to God's gifts, to put them to fruit. So it wasn't just a sort of sitting around thinking, it was contemplating, pondering on God's gifts in order to know how better to correspond to them, to put them to fruit. So she was attentive to every little grace and gift that God gave her so that she might be generous and constant and diligent in corresponding to everything. And this is what we need to do. To not just let God's gifts pass us by, but give Him this response of gratitude, diligence, put everything to fruit by seeking His glory, using everything in charity and in exercise of all virtues, knowing that, without God's grace and without the gifts that He has given us, we actually can't give Him anything. But if He has given us something, we should be making a return. And so all these things need to be used, just as I said, for His glory and honor. and for the love that is due to him. May our Blessed Mother help us to understand this, and so be generous and diligent in using things for God's glory, and so as to have our hands full, so to speak, one day when we arrive at eternal judgment, and not be amongst the servants who get put aside, so to speak, with their hands empty. No, if we want our hands to be full, our treasure house to be full, well, let's put to fruit the gifts that God has given us. Praise be Jesus and Mary.